Jake Calloway worked double shifts as a firefighter to make ends meet after his wife's medical bills drained their savings. One rainy evening, he spotted an elderly couple struggling with grocery bags outside the store. Their cart was tipping in the wind. Despite having only $30 left until payday, Jake bought their groceries and helped them home. 3 days later, a cream-colored envelope arrived at the fire station. The letter inside would change everything. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Jake Calloway sat in the break room of Station 42, staring at his nearly empty wallet. The medical bills from Sarah's cancer treatment had taken everything they had. Even with insurance, the copays and deductibles were crushing them. You should head home, Jake. You've done 3 shifts this week already, said Captain Miller. Just trying to keep up with the bills, Cap, Jake said, rubbing his tired eyes. The autumn rain poured outside as Jake drove to the grocery store. He needed to get some basics: bread, eggs, and milk. That was all he could afford until next week's paycheck. The store's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Jake walked through the sliding doors. He grabbed a small basket, carefully counting the $30 in his wallet. In the dairy aisle, he noticed an elderly couple struggling with their cart. The old man was using a cane, trying to steady himself while his wife attempted to reach the top shelf. Their cart wobbled, nearly tipping over. "Let me help you with that," Jake said, stepping forward to stabilize their cart. "Thank you, young man," the woman said. Her hands were shaking from the cold. "We usually have our daughter help us, but she's home with the flu." Jake noticed their cart had only basic items: soup cans, bread, some vegetables. The old man's jacket was worn thin, and his wife's shoes were badly scuffed. "Martha, and this is George," the woman said. "We live just 3 blocks away, but this weather makes everything harder." Jake watched as Martha checked her coin purse, counting pennies. George looked worried as they approached the checkout counter. "It comes to $48, the cashier said. Martha's face fell. "Oh dear, we'll have to put some things back." Jake stepped forward. "Please let me help." He pulled out his wallet, knowing he'd have to skip his own groceries. "We couldn't possibly," George protested. "I insist," Jake said, handing his $30 to the cashier and adding his credit card for the remainder. The rain had gotten worse. Jake helped them carry their groceries, walking slowly as George navigated the wet sidewalk with his cane. Their small house was modest but well kept, with faded paint and careful patches on the roof. "You're an angel," Martha said at their door. "Please, come in for some tea." "Thank you, but I should get back. Stay warm," Jake said, waving goodbye. That night, Jake ate the last package of ramen from his cupboard. His phone buzzed with another medical bill reminder, but he didn't regret helping Martha and George. The next morning at the station, Jake checked the equipment on engine 42, trying not to think about his empty kitchen cabinets. The morning alarm test had just finished when Tracy, the station secretary, walked in. "Jake, this came for you," she said, holding out a cream-colored envelope. "Hand-delivered this morning." Jake turned the cream-colored envelope in his hands. The paper was thick, expensive-looking. His name was written in neat handwriting on the front. "Who brought this?" Jake asked. "A courier service. He needed your signature confirmation," Tracy said. Inside the envelope was a letter and a business card. The card belonged to Richard Bennett, CEO of Bennett Real Estate Development. Jake's hand shook as he read the letter. "Dottie, dear Mr. Calloway, I was having dinner at Carlo's Cafe across from Wilson's Grocery last night. Through the window I witnessed your kindness to the elderly couple. My driver later followed to ensure they reached home safely. What caught my attention wasn't just your act of helping them with groceries, but how you did it despite clearly being in financial difficulty yourself. I noticed you put away your own shopping basket." Jake sat down on the nearby chair. The letter continued. "I did some research. You're a firefighter at Station 42, working extra shifts. Your wife Sarah battled cancer last year. The medical bills have been substantial. I know this because I sit on the hospital board. I would like to meet with you. My office is downtown, in the Bennett building. Please come today at 2 p.m. Ask for Richard at reception." "Everything okay?" Captain Miller asked, seeing Jake's expression. I'm not sure, Jake said. Cap, would it be possible to take my break at take the whole afternoon? You've earned it with all those extra hours. Jake drove downtown in his old pickup truck. The Bennett building was 30 stories of glass and steel. He felt out of place in his casual clothes as he approached the reception desk. I'm Jake Calloway. I have a meeting with Richard Bennett. The receptionist smiled. Yes, Mr. Bennett is expecting you. Take the elevator to floor 30. The elevator opened into a simple but elegant office. A man in his 60s sat at a desk, working on a laptop. He stood up when Jake entered. Mr. Calloway, thank you for coming. Please, sit down. I don't understand why I'm here, Jake said. Richard smiled. I've been watching people from that cafe window for years. It's where I go to think. I've seen hundreds walk past that elderly couple. You were the only one who stopped. Anyone would have helped, Jake said. But they didn't. You did. And you did it when you could least afford to. That says something about character. Richard opened a folder on his desk. I've been looking for someone to manage my foundation's new community outreach program. It pays $100,000 a year with full health benefits. Jake's heart stopped. Sir, I'm just a firefighter. I don't have experience running foundations. Richard leaned back in his chair. Experience isn't what I'm looking for. I need someone with genuine compassion and good judgment. Someone who understands real struggles and knows how to help people effectively. What exactly would this job involve? Jake asked. My foundation helps local families in crisis. Medical bills, housing emergencies, education costs. We need someone who can evaluate needs and coordinate assistance. Your background as a firefighter means you understand crisis management. Jake thought about his own struggles, about Martha and George. How would I know who really needs help? That's exactly the kind of question I was hoping you'd ask, Richard said. You'll have a team to help with paperwork and verification. Your role would be meeting people, understanding their situations, making decisions about assistance. Richard pulled out more papers. We also provide training. You'll learn about nonprofit management, community resources, and financial assistance programs. The foundation covers all education costs. Can I have some time to think about it? Jake asked. I need to talk to Sarah. Of course, take the weekend, but first I'd like you to meet someone. Richard pressed a button on his phone. Send them in, please. The door opened. Martha and George walked in, looking much different than the previous night. Martha's eyes were bright with tears. We wanted to thank you properly, Martha said. When Mr. Bennett contacted us this morning, we had to come. George stepped forward. We've been volunteers at Bennett Foundation for 10 years, helping review assistance applications since we retired from teaching. Jake looked at Richard in surprise. Martha and George are two of our most dedicated volunteers, Richard said. They live modestly by choice, but they've helped hundreds of families. They were actually evaluating you last night. We do random community kindness checks, Martha explained. See how people react to those in need. In 5 years, you're only the third person who helped without hesitation. Jake sat quietly, processing everything. This seems unreal. Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it, Richard said. You passed that test without knowing you were taking it. That's genuine character. George placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. The foundation needs people like you, people who understand both sides, giving help and needing it. The job is yours if you want it, Richard said. You can keep volunteering at the fire station if you wish. Many of our staff do community work on weekends. Jake thought about Sarah, about their struggles, about all the families like them. When could I start? That evening, Jake sat with Sarah at their small kitchen table. Her face still showed signs of her cancer treatment, but her eyes were bright as he explained everything. It sounds amazing, Jake, but are you sure it's not too good to be true? Sarah asked. I checked everything. The Bennett Foundation is real. They've been helping families for 20 years. I called Captain Miller's wife. She received help from them when their son needed surgery. Sarah reached for Jake's hand. You've worked so hard at the fire station. I can still volunteer there on weekends. But this job, Sarah, I could help people like us. People drowning in medical bills, trying to keep their homes. Jake pulled out the foundation's brochure. They even have a special program for families dealing with cancer. The health insurance starts immediately. Sarah wiped a tear. That would mean I could go back to my regular checkups without worrying about the copays. And we could finally fix the roof, Jake said, maybe even start saving again. The next morning, Jake met with Captain Miller to explain his decision. "We'll miss you on regular shifts," Captain Miller said. "But you're making the right choice. The Bennett Foundation helped my family once." "I remember when Tommy needed surgery," Jake said. "I never knew they were the ones who helped." Richard Bennett does things quietly. No big announcements, no publicity. Just helps people who need it. Jake spent his last week at the station training his replacement. During breaks, he studied the foundation materials Richard had given him. On Friday, the crew threw him a small goodbye party. They gave him a framed photo of Engine 42 and the whole team. "Don't forget us when you're in that fancy office," Louise, his partner of 3 years, said. "I'll be here every other Saturday," Jake said. "Can't give up firefighting completely." Tracy handed him a card signed by everyone. "We're proud of you, Jake. You'll be great at helping people." As Jake packed up his locker, he found an old photo from his first day at the station. He remembered being so proud to become a firefighter, wanting to help people. "Now you'll just be helping them in a different way," Captain Miller said, seeing him look at the photo. "Thanks for everything, Cap," Jake said. "For understanding about all those extra shifts, for supporting this change." "It is promised you'll still come to our barbecues," Captain Miller said. "Sarah makes the best potato salad." 6 months later, Jake sat in his office at the Bennett Foundation, reviewing assistance applications. His desk held the framed Station 42 photo next to a newer one of Martha and George with their volunteer team. Sarah walked in, bringing lunch. Her health had improved significantly with regular treatments, now fully covered by their insurance. "How was your doctor's appointment?" Jake asked. "All clear. Dr. Morris says the latest scans look perfect," Sarah said. "I ran into a woman in the waiting room. She was crying about her bills." "Did you give her our card?" "Already done. She has an appointment with your team tomorrow." Jake smiled. This was why he loved his new role. Every week he met families struggling just like they had been. The foundation helped them find solutions, navigate insurance, and access resources. That afternoon, Jake visited a family facing eviction after their father's workplace injury. He remembered his own sleepless nights over bills. "We can help with housing costs while you recover," Jake told them. "Our job counselor will also work with you on disability applications and job training." The mother started crying. "We thought we'd end up homeless." "That's why we're here," Jake said. "Sometimes people just need a bridge to get through tough times." Later, Jake stopped by Station 42 to drop off foundation pamphlets. The crew was returning from a call. "How's the office life?" Louise asked, cleaning the truck. "Different, but good. Remember that family who lost everything in last month's apartment fire? We're helping them get back on their feet." Captain Miller joined them. "The crew misses you, but you're helping more people now than ever." On his way home, Jake stopped at Wilson's grocery. He saw an elderly man struggling with his bags. "Let me help you with those," Jake said. The man reminded him of George, who still volunteered at the foundation 3 days a week. At home, Sarah was making dinner. Their kitchen now had full cabinets, and the roof no longer leaked. "I got a thank you card today," Sarah said. "From the Peterson family. Their daughter started her cancer treatments." Jake hugged her. "Remember when we thought we'd never get through our own medical bills? Now we help others get through theirs," Sarah said. "Life has a funny way of working out." That night, Jake looked at his old wallet, still holding the receipt from when he bought Martha and George's groceries. One small act of kindness had changed everything. "Ready for the foundation meeting tomorrow?" Sarah asked. "Richard said you're presenting the new community outreach plan." "Ready," Jake said. "We're expanding the emergency assistance program. More families will get help faster." Jake thought about all the lives touched by the foundation, all the people who just needed someone to care. Sometimes the biggest changes started with the smallest acts of kindness. Loved this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.